is that it's so sick. It's so sick. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to tell you again, I don't feel worthy. And by that, I don't feel like I'm doing a good enough job. I don't know how to expose these people. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to stop it. I mean, my grandmother almost died of polio, which we know was actually something they souped up and released at military bases. That was a weaponized polio they released. That was all staged, so they could put the cancer viruses in it and the rest of it. I've got all the documents. I've had scientists, doctors on, played the clips of the inventors of it, bragging that they knew hundreds of millions got cancer from it. I've played the stinking clips. I mean, I'm angry about this. My grandmother, God love her, has not been able to walk without crutches, and she got polio really bad, almost died. It ate most of her muscle. And then I think about how the cancers are up on average over 2,000%, pediatric over 10,000. Finally, it's in the news. In fact, guys, print this for me. It's everywhere. Autism now a major health crisis, because now it's 1 in 50-something. Was 1 in 25,000 plus. Soon, at this number, it's going to be 1 in 10 within 2 years. Then, within 5 years, they estimate 1 in 3. And let me tell you, it's real. This is the zombification. We are under total biological, chemical warfare attack. Okay? And I can't handle them murdering and degenerating children and paralyzing these kids. My grandmother's gone through 50-something years, 56, 57, 58 years of hell since she got polio. And I think about them doing this to these kids. Bill Gates, I mean, these people make Hitler look like a cutie cake. We'll be right back.
You don't need me to tell you that humanity...
It's quite a paradox, because I basically am able to mentally image the torture that I go through. It'd be like knowing down the street that some 3-year-old child was stuck in a well, panicking with their legs broken, with fire ants biting them, and people are walking by not caring. And we see people in the zombie-like trance state that they're in, with literal lower brain waves near a sleepwalking level. We see them, cases all the time, where somebody's run over, somebody's stabbed, somebody's raped, and will sit there on the side of the road, even in a nice area, with hundreds of people walking by them for hours, not helping them. That's how it is in India. That's how it is in China. That's been engineered by the cultural system. The West was never like that in modern times. That is now happening. And people don't get that when you don't care what's happening to others, they don't care what happens to you. When you don't care about corruption, they don't care about corruption. And it destroys productivity. It destroys everything good in the society. And when I, for 17 years on air, have been totally aware, because it's even in mainstream news, hidden in plain view. Just like they report that Goldman Sachs has a sex trafficking, which many of them are kidnapped and pressed and enslaved women and minors. And Goldman Sachs publicly has a fund invested in that. And it's not even an issue. See how they've just got us right where they want us? And now I see articles all the time about, yeah, the UN program's under fire. Yeah, there's conspiracy theorists that think they're doing it on purpose in Pakistan. So the Pakistani government's saying, you know, they don't care if we hold back their $3 billion. They're not going to do this because the money's attached to it. Just like schools don't get their federal funds unless they vaccinate, unless they begin the lobotomization process. See, the average person just gets stunted, dumbed down, has that fire of creativity, that human spark, dimmed. But some people, especially boys, because their blood-brain barrier is not as strong, medical doctors have broken this down, girl babies, girl children, women, on average, live longer, they're tougher. In every major study, they can take gunshot wounds better, freeze, everything better, because they're designed to create the next wave of humans. Women have to be tough. I don't mean physically tough like in a fight. They're tougher in other ways. And the point is that our boys are being absolutely decimated. But the chemical, biological, radiological operations are getting so bad, now it's hitting the girls. And it's just devastating the boys. And I read these articles about 47,000, and they estimate that only about half those cases are bad enough to where, you know, they're being put down by the National Health Service. Because in India, they're so poor, a lot of folks just die and aren't even on the records now. They get the oral polio vaccine that is a souped-up, weaponized version, and they get paralysis. They get polio. And the UN spins it and says, well, this is a non-polio paralysis. And we see autism from 1 in 25,000 plus 30 or so years ago to now, depending on the actuary, 1 in 61, 1 in 58. It varies. Exponentially, logarithmically doubling every 2.5 to 3 years. From 25,000, 1 in 25,000, it's like 1 in 25,300 and something. You look at the technical numbers, down to 1 in 50 or 1 in 60. Where's it going to be next? Soon, every other child will be a medicalized zombie. And how's the New World Order going to cover that? It doesn't matter. They've just been testing it, soft killing us for when they release the real mega plagues that are just going to devastate billions. That's the plan. And once they drop hammer down, ladies and gentlemen, the globalists are going to go into their bunkers, and it is going to be Twilight Zone meets Road Warrior. And I know a lot of you are going to laugh now if we don't back this off. That's why I'm risking my life. I get death threats, attacks you wouldn't believe. I just ignore it and move forward. I know that means I'm over the target. But the fact is, folks, I know the only reason, I hope you realize you're hearing a real radio show with someone going hardcore 110% up against the New World Order. I mean, this is real. Those people can't believe it. They're like, well, how could this guy not work for him and still be alive? Because of God and your prayers and providence, but also they know that it will only highlight everything I've said and done. I've got such prolific work out there that, you know, if I was some whistleblower that had a particular smoking gun, they'll kill you. They have like a handbook, and they still may. Whatever. We're already dead. I've got to save children, and it's not because I'm some hero. I love the species. It's my instinct. It's survival. It's what I was made for and what you were born to be. The war is now. Okay? You're under attack.
We're on the march.
This morning and last night, I was just in deep, deep, deep thought about the nature of the New World Order and what we're facing. And it hit me again for the 10,000th time, but harder than ever, that we are right, we are accurate, our proof is in not triplicate, not quadruplicate, but 10,000 gooplicate. I mean, it's ridiculous how crazy it is. It's like this professor that said, treat people for mental illness. A lot of other professors have said, arrest them if they don't believe in global warming. And then when she gets caught in it, they use a psych warfare technique. But these are all cheap tricks, and says, oh, I didn't write that. And they pull it. When they get caught with the cash, they say, oh, well, I didn't mean that. And then they expunge all her other writings, but we find one of her other writings saying, get rid of what the Congress wants, you know, get rid of what the people want, just do what you want, Mr. President. I read that and covered it yesterday. Here's the headline. Professor urged Obama to ignore democracy, public opinion. And in her letter, she talks about basically how the public's dumb. And that's what it is. It's a religion of these people and the camp followers. Whenever you look at so-called liberals, they're not liberals. The low-level ones are bleeding heart, guilt-ridden people who are under the hypnotized voice, literal voice of NPR type stuff. But that's just their cover. So we've got that going on. And it's all about how they're smart and we're stupid. But really, we're just nice people who aren't evil and twisted and corrupt. So we have a blind spot. But when you look into these globalists, all they talk about, I mean, MSNBC does this to their kind of camp followers, is how they're smart and everybody else is dumb. And then they just repeat that as a religion over and over again, and how they're saving the world and how they love everybody. And then you research their lives on average. They're alone, they're miserable, their IQs are low, but they've got a will to power and dominate. And those of us that really do have power and life force and strength, we're just giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. We don't seek power because we already innately have it. We're ashamed of our power. We're ashamed of its use, even when it's righteous. Not these people, they crave it. And those of us that have power, real power given to us from the good Lord above, have got to start using it on these dragons. You have got to release the power. You've got to use it or be enslaved. Why do you think they drug our water and had GMO designed to attack all of our adrenal glands, organs, blood systems, nervous systems, reproductive systems, on record in every study? Why do they add radioactive isotopes to the water? On record. Total Twilight Zone, on record. Why do they do all this? Because they want to be number one. They have to. It's like in the movie Gladiator, to use a popular analogy, when the crazy emperor, there was actually real cases of this if you study Rome, just under other names. So that story is a composite of true stories, kind of like The Patriot with Mel Gibson is a composite of 3 stories. When you've read Roman history, that Ridley Scott movie, I think he even wrote it, didn't he? Gladiator with Russell Crowe, I think his best role, is a composite of real things that happened. But it's a composite of like 5 different stories. The emperor has him tied up, stabs him in his heart, but with a little, stab so he'll die in 30 minutes or so, stabs him expertly, brings him out to fight him. And that's what they do. That from birth, they just stab us so they can be better than us. You're smarter than me. You're more beautiful. You're not evil like I am. You're happy. Like the fairy tales. The Wicked Witch doesn't get invited to the marriage. She curses everybody. Sleeping Beauty. Those parables are all based in real things. You know what? I can't beat you out in the gladiatorial floor, so I'm going to stab you in the heart with an ice pick and then run you out there to fight me 2 minutes later while you're bleeding to death inside. That's what they do. So they can, I mean, it is a cult of intellectual midgets, and I want to indict you right now. You will fail. Humanity will defeat you. And I commit everything I am once again. And I swear on the altar of Almighty God, eternal resistance against every form of tyranny over the mind of men. You guys cue up that Thomas Jefferson quote for me. You see, because the tyranny is over the mind first. They want that mind. Have you looked at globalists? I don't get how people look, but from a sociological view or from the study of cultural anthropology, in every culture, these ruling elites are like hunchback, snaggletooth, cross-eyed, but always have the same weird, leering, demonic smile. That's why whenever I saw this photo of this professor, it was shocking, and it looked like something out of Fright Night, because I've seen it over and over again with Bianca. He dresses up in a Gandalf outfit and talks about Lucifer on the UT site and how he wants to have 90% of us die. One of the top guys in the biology department. And he does interviews and he can hardly talk. And it's not like he's some absent-minded professor. He is a moron. I have seen the enemy. They are piles of demonic, diseased crud. And that's why they hate us and poison us, because they want to make us like them.